There's a version of this story we've all lived, even if the details are different. A comment at a family dinner. A coworker who suddenly has questions about your lunch. A friend who goes quiet, then cold, once she finds out. A stranger online who feels entitled to an opinion about a decision she knows nothing about. We started a GLP-1 to take care of ourselves. And somewhere along the way, we found out that taking care of ourselves was going to require defending ourselves too. Welcome to the After the Noise podcast. I'm Dr. Jan Bradley, licensed psychologist, and this is where we talk about everything your GLP-1 is changing besides the number on the scale. Today, we're talking about weight stigma stress. And I want to be direct about something before we go further. This episode isn't really about GLP-1s. It's about something much older that GLP-1s happen to be exposing right now. Let's talk about a woman we'll call Marnie. Marnie isn't one person. She's every woman who's written to me with some version of this story, which means she's a lot of us. Marnie started tirzepatide 8 months ago. She lost weight the way her doctor said she would. Slowly, then steadily. And somewhere around month 4, she noticed something she wasn't expecting. The comments didn't stop. They just changed direction. Before, people told her she should try harder. Now people tell her she took the easy way out. Before, a relative asked her when she was going to do something about her weight. Now the same relative asks her, with a little smile, when she's going to stop the shot and see if she can keep it off on her own. Marnie told me something that stayed with me. She said, "I thought once I lost the weight, people would finally leave me alone. Instead, I just became interesting to them in a new way." That's weight stigma stress. It's not really about a number. It's about the fact that her body, at every size, has apparently been open for public comment. Here's what I want us to understand, because most of what gets written about this treats it like it's an etiquette problem, like people just need better manners. But that's not what's happening. And understanding what's actually happening changes how much power these comments get to have over you. Judgment is almost never about the person being judged. It's about the person doing the judging. Many of the people commenting on your GLP-1 have made peace with their own bodies, their own choices, their own relationship with food, by building a story around it. Maybe the story is, I just have more willpower. Maybe it's, I've made peace with my size. Your success on a GLP-1 doesn't just sit next to their story. It can quietly undermine it. Rather than examine that discomfort, it's much easier to discredit your choice. Cheating, shortcut, easy way out. Those words aren't about you. They're a defense of a story someone needs to keep believing about themselves. There's a psychological term for part of this: cognitive dissonance. We're wired to resolve inconsistency, and we usually resolve it in whatever direction requires the least change from us. If someone has spent years believing weight is purely a matter of discipline, your treatment creates a contradiction they didn't ask for. It's far less costly for them to decide you took a shortcut than to reconsider a belief they've built years of self-worth on top of. And underneath all of this sits something bigger. We've been raised in a culture that grants itself permission to comment on women's bodies at every size, in every direction, for reasons that change based on what's convenient in the moment. too big, then too changed, then too easy, then too vain. The specific criticism shifts. The entitlement to criticize doesn't. That's the actual story here. The GLP-1s are just the current battlefield. We don't talk enough about what it actually costs to live inside that kind of scrutiny. It costs energy we don't have extra of. Marnie told me she started rehearsing responses in the car before family dinners. She started skipping meals in front of certain people, not because of anything physical, but because she didn't want to be watched eating. It costs trust. Not just trust in other people, but trust in her own decision. Enough comments, enough raised eyebrows, and even a decision she made carefully with her doctor after years of thought starts to feel like something she has to justify rather than something she's allowed to simply have made. That's not a personal failure. That's the predictable cost of being a woman whose body has never fully belonged to her in other people's eyes. So here's what we're offering instead, and I want to be precise about it because this isn't about winning arguments or becoming immune to comments. That's not realistic, and it's not the goal. The goal is this: we don't owe anyone the story of our bodies. Not the mechanism, not the why, not a defense delivered calmly enough to earn approval. The demand that we explain ourselves is the problem. It was never a reasonable question we failed to answer well enough. Someone can care about you and still not have earned a vote on your medical decisions. Those are two different things, and we're allowed to hold them separately. Our job was never to make our choices acceptable to strangers or to relatives or to a coworker with opinions about our lunch. Our job is to stop treating their opinion as a vote that counts. Your body was never public property. It just took a long time to stop treating it like it was. Understanding why people judge is important. But I don't want to leave you with insight alone, because insight doesn't pay the bill that judgment charges you. Judgment is exhausting, even when you understand exactly where it's coming from. So let's talk about what actually helps carry the weight of it. The first thing is knowing your own beliefs before you need them. Most of us spend far more energy thinking about what other people believe about GLP-1s, willpower, and weight loss than we spend clarifying what we believe. And when you're unclear about your own position, every comment becomes something you have to defend against in the moment, on the spot, usually while your heart rate is climbing. So before the next family dinner, before the next comment section, take 5 minutes and finish this sentence for yourself. I made this decision because. Write down the real answer, not the polished one you'd give a skeptical relative, the true one for you. Once you know what you believe, you don't have to construct it under pressure. You can hold it to yourself, the way you'd hold any settled fact about your own life. Their belief belongs to them, yours belongs to you. You're not required to trade. The second thing is having a small number of exit lines ready, so you're not writing them from scratch under stress. You don't need a speech. You need one sentence that closes the door without opening a debate. Something like this: I made this decision with my doctor, and I feel good about it. Or simply, I'd rather not get into it. Said calmly, without over-explaining, A short line does more work than a long justification because over-explaining signals that the question deserves a debate. It doesn't. The third thing is protecting your exposure on purpose. Not everyone needs to know. Not every group chat needs an update. Not every family member gets a front row seat to your medical decisions. Choosing who hears about this and when isn't secrecy. It's discernment. You get to decide who has earned a place in this part of your life and who hasn't. That's not something you need to feel guilty about. And last, when a comment does land and it stings, let it sting without turning it into evidence. A hurtful comment tells you something about the person who said it. It doesn't get to become data about whether your decision was right. None of this makes the comments disappear, but it changes what they cost you. You stop spending your energy defending the decision and start spending it living the life the decision was meant to support. If this episode resonated, I want you to know that this is exactly the kind of conversation After the Noise exists to have. The parts of this journey that don't get enough airtime. The experiences that are profound and valid and almost never named. The psychological terrain that sits underneath the physiology and determines more than almost anything else whether the work you've done actually lasts. The After the Noise Substack is where I go deeper every week, and my newsletter is where I give you one concrete step forward each week, based on whatever we've been exploring together. Both links are in the show notes. If this episode was useful, share it with a woman who's living with the comments right now and doesn't quite have language for what she's carrying. Or share it with someone who hasn't started her journey yet, so that when the comments come, she arrives prepared instead of blindsided. That's the whole point of After the Noise. Not to hand you a prescription and send you on your way, but to make sure that when the hard parts come, and they do come for everyone, you have the words for what's happening and a direction for what to do next. I'll see you next week.